Hey everybody, this is Herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Echo of Futurepast number 3, continuing our scholarly examination of this great 80s anthology title. This month, it looks like Bucky O'Hare gets the cover spotlight. Beautiful Michael Golden drawing. That is so nice. Great color and great art. Love that man. Contents page. And we start off with Bucky O'Hare. Before we get into the story, I wanted to say that I just discovered this YouTube channel. It's called Jerk Comics, I believe. And the guy just recently did a 3-part Michael Golden series. And this guy, his comics journalistic acumen is off the fucking charts. You know, I've been reading fanzines and shit since I was 10 in 1977. I thought I knew a lot of stuff. This guy is just blowing my mind every 10 minutes. This shit about Michael Golden I never heard about. So what was really interesting and what's pertinent is that apparently Larry Hama approached Michael Golden in like 1978 when they were both working at DC Comics. He approached Michael Golden with the idea of Bucky O'Hare. It was called Bucky Bunny then. And Michael Golden, I guess, did some designs and started to work on it. But, of course, other things, drew his attention away. But basically 5 years later, they finally got together and made it, turned it into Bucky O'Hare. I guess Bucky Bunny sounded too much like Bugs Bunny. They were worried about getting sued. So back to this episode, 3rd chapter. We have, of course, our heroes are flying through space, trying to fight the Toad Menace. And Blinky, the ship robot, prepared a little, basically, documentary, a holographic documentary to teach Willie about the toads, the Toad Menace, and where they came from. Apparently, at one time, the toads were pretty benign. They were just whatever. All they cared about was buying consumer goods to keep up with the neighbors. And pretty much like your typical American, except with a lot less warfare. But some scientists on the planet created it like an AI computer, and the computer quickly took over everything. It basically forced the whole planet to militarize and industrialize. So every toad basically became like a drone, and this is their planet after generations of this. It's 7 layers deep of just factories and industrial complexes. It's just completely gutted the planet and just turned into this fortress, basically. They built ships so they could fly off to the universe and conquer everything they could find. That's what the robot AI wanted, the computer. One of their most impressive ships is the magma tankers, which actually suck the magma, the molten core of planets, for all the energy. Almost like Galactus. And, God, I love this drawing of the frogs, of the toads. So the United Animal Security Council, of course, they had to do something. Look at this great funny animal art by Golden, drawing all these different mammalian-looking aliens. So their solution was to create space, sentient protoplasm against colonial encroachment. Let's see this nice heroic image of Bucky O'Hare and his crew. Unfortunately, the Security Council only saw fit to give them enough money that they could afford 3 ships. So there's only 3 ships in the whole fleet. Of course, the Righteous Indignation being one of them. I do appreciate that Michael Golden seems to be drawing Willie less freakishly. His head was a little freaking weird in those first 2 chapters. Now it's a little more realistic, even though obviously very cartoony. And he's really cute. He draws him really cute. So the Righteous Indignation sees a giant magma tanker sucking this planet dry. They decide to land on the planet on the opposite side. They figure they won't be able to see him. It'll be a perfect cover. Meanwhile, on the ship, Jenny is still being very clumsily interrogated by these toads. That's kind of a running gag of this series. The toads are just fucking morons. It's kind of funny just how dumb they are. And all of a sudden, Jenny starts glowing, almost as if she has this like cosmic force or something. And we see the next panel, she's walking away, and there's a pile of toads all clobbered and walloped. So I guess we'll find out what the hell that's all about. Because as far as we knew, Jenny didn't have any special powers. So back to Bucky O'Hare and crew. On this planet, Bucky informs Willie that they have to get permission from the local authorities if they're going to engage in battle on this planet. That's just part of the space charter. So him and Blinky run off to get the paperwork signed, to get minor battle permits. And Willie and Deadeye Duck fly off to recon the planet. And in the last panel, Bucky and Blinky find this strange little edifice. Kind of looks like a Greco-Roman outhouse. A very fancy outhouse. And they wonder what's inside. And we won't know until next issue. Now we have the third chapter of Neil Adams' Frankenstein, Count Dracula, Werewolf. This one focusing on the werewolf. When last we left off, Erica, Vincent Frankenstein's love, had been thrown out of this castle window by Frankenstein, the monster. And then on top of that, this giant wolf comes out of nowhere and is threatening her. So of course Victor is watching this from the window above, freaking out, pleading with Dracula to do something. But Dracula just reaches behind his neck and pinches his nerve and knocks him out. So hours later, Erica seems okay, but she's still unconscious. And these three Romani approach her. It's a grandmother and her two grandsons. One of the grandsons, I can't remember his name right now. He's kind of like this simpleton, simple-minded, but he's kind of sweet. He's like a sweet dummy. He's like, she's beautiful. She looks so soft, grandmother. And she whacks him in the head with a stick and says, don't waste your sympathy on her. She's our servant now. We're basically going to turn her into a slave. She's our property. So Erica wakes up to this new reality. Not too happy, of course, obviously. This grandmother's pretty cruel. She's slapping her and stuff. And we find out that, unlike his brother, Bella is a sadistic little shit. He's smarter than his brother, but he's really mean. And he basically loves just like watching her slave away. He gets sadistic pleasure from it. But obviously it's probably some like sick shit going on in his head. Look at just Neil Adams' face work. Just so good at that stuff. So one night, the simpleton comes to visit Erica. I'm sorry, his name's Torque. Torque comes to visit her. He brings her food. Just like I said, he's a really sweet, nice guy. Also, I think he's in love with Erica because Erica's beautiful. And then as he's giving her the food, he notices a pentagram on her hand. And he runs away. And he's like, and the mood is full. And all of a sudden, Erica starts to change. It's really nice there. And they do that little werewolf, whatever it's called, the poem. Even a man who is pure of heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the moon is shining bright. So a little while later, Bella gets up from the campfire, and he's got his whip on him, and he's basically paying Erica a visit, obviously up to no good. And luckily, Erica's not waiting for him. It's werewolf Erica. She grabs the whip and makes short work of him, just slashes his back and kills him. The Romani camp all wake up and they attack Erica, and she loves it. She basically has a grin on her face, and she's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get revenge on all you fuckers who enslaved me." But we'll have to find out next month. Oh, this is so great. Second chapter of Carlos Giménez's Ham. When last we left off, Ham and the blob on his head are riding this raft with these three-tailed men or beings. And they're all really hungry. The tailed beings can't stop whining about how hungry they are because they're used to always being fed. They were attached to that mother tree that always took care of them. So this is just a shocking new reality for them. So they're in a dilemma. Ham doesn't want to leave the boat, to go search for food because these guys will just get on the raft and leave maybe. But he's got to go get food or they're all going to starve. He's got to go forage. So the blob says, Ham, put one of them in charge. Trust me, it'll work. So one of them, he says, I'm going to go search for food. You'll be in charge. If you guard the raft well, you'll get a double portion of food when I return. And he totally takes to it like a fish to water. He grabs Ham's sword, and at first Ham thinks he's going to attack him. But no, he just wants to lord it over his two, buddies. The power goes right to his head. There's a very astute little political lesson here in 2 pages. And Ham says, yeah, I guess you were right, Blob. And they go looking for food and they find these mushrooms. This is a great sequence, by the way. I remember reading this as a teenager and just fucking loving it. And I wasn't even into drugs then. But he eats the mushrooms and then he starts getting these very interesting thoughts that he never had before. He's obviously tripping a little. And basically he's thinking about how nature is just shitty. Like he's questioning, like, how come just because you're strong and smarter, you get to rule over everything else? And if you're weak, you get eaten. It just seems unfair and just cruel. And of course the blob is arguing with him because he's a total pragmatic asshole. He's just like, that's the way it is. The stronger beings don't have the right. He takes the right, and that's the way it should be. And Ham starts thinking some radical thoughts. He's like, well, what if all the weak got together and teamed up? We could probably take down the strong. And then meanwhile, we have a foreshadowing of characters who we're going to meet in a couple pages, but we see them from a distance. See, Ham is over there, way in the distance. Kind of an interesting way to introduce them. I don't know why this reminds me of like a Jodorowsky movie, like a scene where there'd just be some character in the distance and you'd be like, oh, he's going to be important later. Look at this groovy designs on these women. We'll get into them more in a second. So Ham is kind of digging it. He's like, I've never had these thoughts before. I feel like singing. He's so overjoyed with having, these thoughts of freedom and liberation. And basically the blob is like, I don't want you eating any more mushrooms. I don't like this. Because, basically the blob is like a fascist. He wants to just control anyone he can. And he basically tells Ham, I don't want you to think. I think you obey. And Ham says, well, at least let me pick some of these for those poor hungry fishermen guys. And he's like, are you crazy? They're going to start having thoughts like you. They're going to realize that 3 of them could actually team up and beat the shit out of you and me. So he refuses to let him take the mushrooms. And we just find out this blob doesn't give a shit. He's a total psychopath. He's just like, so they'll be hungry. Let them be hungry. They'll still follow you. So Ham returns, and before he even gets to the river, he sees the 3 fishermen guys. And he's like, what the hell are you guys doing here? Where's the raft? They were like, the storm swept it away. And we didn't want to be swept away, so we just came looking for you. So Ham's like, yeah, we got to find some shelter quick. God. I mean, every page is fucking amazing, but This storytelling and this art and the colors is so perfect to me. Like, I didn't even mention this mushroom sequence, how the colors get all warm and crazy. So now we finally meet this strange crew. Basically, this is like a mutated dolphin who has come to land. He has left the ocean, basically claiming to be a prophet and claiming to bring wisdom to these poor, wretched surface dwellers. And he has these 2 slave women and this poor old man who's his porter who has to carry him on his back because he doesn't have legs. He's a dolphin. And this guy's just an incredible narcissist. He's just going on about how great he is, and he's so full of himself. Ham instantly takes a dislike to him. And this guy not only is a narcissist, he's a complete cruel bastard. He's just like, Ham says like, are your servants happy? He's like, happy? I never asked them. Who gives a shit? They're my slaves, basically. But he also couches it in the terms of like, oh, I'm their spiritual guide. So, you know, they get the better end of the bargain. This poor porter, though, Ham tries to talk to him. He's just like, he reveals that he was bred to be this. Since he was a little boy, his tribe serves these dolphin guys and carries them around. That's his whole life, has been lugging this guy around in servitude. Sounds pretty horrible. I love this how it's colored all red. It just shows the intensity. And he does not make his contempt for the dolphin guy. He does not hide it. He's basically arguing with him. But then all of a sudden, the howlers approach. We don't know what the howlers are yet, but they sound pretty scary because they're all terrified. And the dolphin says, we have to get to those blue rocks. For some reason, the howlers are afraid of them. It's the only safe haven. So they all head to the blue rocks. And right then, the porter finally dies. Finally gives up the ghost. And the dolphin basically says, Ham, you have to carry me now. And Ham's like, fuck you. I'm leaving you behind for the howlers. As far as I'm concerned, this is a great turn of events. But he says, no, I'm the only one who knows how to safely get to the blue rocks. You need me or we'll all die out here. So the blob tells Ham that he's got to do it. And Ham's like, fuck no. I'm no beast of burden. And of course the blob wins and says, no, you got to. You got to save us. So Ham has to do it. Look at him, how miserable he looks. Puts him on his back, and they head to the blue rocks. Once again, look at this amazing scenery here. Oh, God, I'm so impressed with this comic. So now we have another virus chapter after skipping an issue. When last we left off, we find out that virus is basically like a human virus. He likes to infect people with his insanity and his misery. And just by talking to people, he can basically drive people nuts. And the last chapter ended with a kind of a cliffhanger because this cute little girl is all like, tell me a story. And it's like, oh, this isn't going to end well. So here's the little girl. And basically, Virus just tells her stories. He basically says, I'm going to tell you stories about lots of people, how they crawl to work, crawl back home, crawl to their little boring entertainments. Slimy robots sliding down the boulevards. Like sweat rolls down the thighs of Rita Lova. And he talks about this prostitute, talks about this woman who works in a mill. Just all these basically losers, these poor people. And he just tells them basically little vignettes of their life. This poor old woman who never realized her dreams. And then we see a matador fighting a bull in a ring. And I guess this story is the thing that works, that does the damage. Because you look over at the girl. This is such a horrifying image to me. This photo retouched girl, and she's bleeding out of her nose. That's how viruses' words can just like harm you physically. And Virus basically starts yelling at her. It's like, why did you come here? And it looks like he's strangling her. I don't really get this ending. And it almost looks like this incredible beam of light is zapping Virus in the head. But he looks okay in the next panel. So I don't know what that is. Maybe we'll find out. And apparently he's not strangling her because it says she faints. So maybe he was strangling her a little, but he doesn't kill her. The little cherub fainted in fear. Silence fell over the dunes. Hours from now, she'll wake up and run screaming home. She's caught a virus. And then we get like a little 2-page weird episode of Virus. And we see the subway station. And it's almost like a beatnik poem. He's describing all the people around this station. A mad black witch doctor screams divine incantations. He wants to save the souls of his audience. Transvestite conductors with short circuits in their brains, waiting their turn to call out station stops. And then basically they describe Virus as called the man with the suitcase. And it's very crazy. So he puts the whole train station in a suitcase and walks to this river's edge or ocean's edge and throws the suitcase into the ocean. It says the big, wide, wonderful world of choo-choo trains ends. That's it. Very odd little surreal piece there. And now we have the third chapter of Mudwogs. So it looks like the blue lady, which is Mudwog's giant lover, is in the family way. She's pregnant. God, look how beautiful that is. I mean, hats off to Frank Frazetta there, obviously, but it's enough of his own style that it's not just like a pure ripoff. It's like that Mike Hoffman guy years later in the 2000s would just do these total Frank Frazetta pastiches. So this one is just a Mudwog, just contemplating what it's going to be like being a father. He's pretty happy at first. And it sounds like he's vowing to be a good dad. God, every panel, fucking gorgeous. Look at this. Amazing stuff. He's just crawling all over the blue lady. Standing on her boobs. On her hip. But then he starts thinking, well, she's going to be, my kid's going to be huge. And he starts getting scared thinking about having this kid. He pictures this giant, huge baby just wrecking the house. And then he thinks about, oh God, then there's puberty. So imagine having a pissed off teenage son who's this giant. And we see him wearing a swastika, kind of looking like a biker dude. He's like, you've been telling me what to do all my life, old man. Now you're going to get yours. And Mudwogs is pleading, I'm your father, don't. He's like, I don't want to die. And he's running he says, stop the procedure, which I don't think is possible. And then right as he's running to basically say, I don't want to do this, the little baby patooies out of the blue lady. And he's thinking, Papa. And all the fearful thoughts that Mudwog has evaporate. He's like, son. I like how the word balloon is like dripping with like sentiment and affection. He's just like instantly in love with this kid. Kind of a cute little Mudwogs there. Very different than the other ones. Oh man, all these designs, so great. Can't get over how good Arthur Suydam is. So other than coming attractions, that's it for Echoes of Future Past, number 3. Hope you guys enjoyed looking at it. I am fucking loving these. And I'm kind of kicking myself for not taking these off the shelf for 25 years, maybe 30. Because these are really nice. And I'm enjoying the shit out of reviewing them. So I hope you enjoy as much as I do, or half as much at least. And thanks for watching. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.